Beard Meets Food star Adam Moran has failed a few challenges, but only one got him so angry he called it an egregious swindle. Shortly after Beard Meets Food debuted on YouTube in 2015, Adam Moran attempted to tackle the previously undefeated Yorkshire Pudding Burger Challenge at the Smokehouse in Wakefield, West Yorkshire. The barbecue joint created a mashup of UK and US flavors with a massive 40-ounce burger topped with chicken, beef brisket, mozzarella, and gravy, sandwiched between two giant Yorkshire puddings. Moran also had to down a pound of thick-cut fries and a pint of milkshake. Moran started by tackling the meat, which in retrospect he said was probably a mistake because it was too hot. As the 30-minute timer ticked down, he began to lose speed. He finished the meat in about 15 minutes, but with less than a minute and a handful of food left, he had to concede defeat. Just a month after Smokehouse's Yorkshire Pudding Burger Challenge took him down, Moran squared up against the 4-foot hot dog challenge at Huckleberry's American Diner in York. With two 4-foot rows of hot dogs smothered in chili, pulled pork, and cheese, there was only one problem. The chef used baguettes instead of hot dog buns. Moran started strong, using his strategy of devouring protein before carbs. Unfortunately, the carbs did him in. With the final bite in his mouth, he was unable to swallow it, and time expired. Moran usually does challenges solo, but every so often he teams up with other eaters. The first tag team challenge he ever did was with a rookie named Jonathan, who won a contest at Huckleberry's American Diner to team up with Moran for the 10-pound Cheesecake Challenge. The duo had 1 hour, but they weren't allowed to eat at the same time. Jonathan went first, but tapped out after just one slice, leaving Moran to complete the monumental task.
I think Huckleberries have pretty much discovered a new element here. This is the densest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Moran soldiered on valiantly, but he said the food just didn't want to go down. By the time the clock ran out, there was still a pretty substantial portion of the cheesecake left on the plate. The Breaking Badass Challenge took place at Longhorn's Barbecue Smokehouse and featured over 7 pounds of barbecued foods. The platter included chicken wings, a full rack of ribs, sausages, brisket, pork crackling, and pulled pork. And that was just the meat. Sides included fries, buns, beans, coleslaw, and jalapenos. When Moran attempted the challenge the first time, he lost by a single pot of beans. The second time around, he was convinced he would do better because of what he called his increased eating capacity. He also stated he loves American barbecue, so the challenge should have been easy. Unfortunately, he tapped out with 7 minutes left, saying he just couldn't take any more. He did, however, find room to finish off with a piece of Reese's Pieces cheesecake. The 11-pound chicken and waffles challenge was another Huckleberry's American Diner challenge Moran couldn't complete. Also called the No Clucking Chance Challenge, the trial featured an enormous platter of deep-fried Louisiana-style chicken, waffles, fries, corn on the cob, bacon, and pickles. Despite stating that the food tasted great, Moran just couldn't make a dent in the platter. To be fair, he might have had a handicap going in. The competitive eater stated he had been having acid reflux that week and was having a hard time swallowing.
This is a 40-minute time limit, which damn near makes it impossible for all but about maybe 3 people in the entire universe.
When Moran visited Tavasali's Cafe and Grill in 2017, he was confronted with a platter of chorizo, pulled pork, burger patties, and bacon, accompanied by fries, mozzarella sticks, hash browns, sweet chili sauce, garlic mayo, and a Kinder Bueno milkshake. With just 20 minutes on the clock, he got to work on the Undefeated Meat Mountain Challenge. As the challenge progressed, he began using both hands to shovel the food into his mouth. Yet, despite the double-handed action and almost constant eating, Moran just couldn't pack it all away fast enough.
I really hate losing food challenges in restaurants, especially when it's because of the time limit. And 20 minutes was not a lot of time to eat that amount of food.
One challenge that Moran was particularly excited about was the Undefeated Bangers and Mash Challenge of 2019 because it was a rare chance to eat a British classic.
Normally, when a restaurant does a food challenge, it's like burgers, nachos, chicken wings.
The Brown Cow in Ackworth pulled out all the stops, serving up 30 sausages, mashed potatoes, a whole cauliflower, carrots, and gravy. Moran mistakenly assumed he would have an hour to finish, but to his shock, he only had 20 minutes. His first hurdle was that the sausages and mashed potatoes were painfully hot. Despite that, he managed to devour them all in good time. The cauliflower, however, proved just too much.
This is disgusting.
In 2020, Moran faced a monstrous Mexican food challenge at Low, Slow, and Dough in Birkenhead. The Badass Burrito Challenge featured a foot-long burrito accompanied by a slew of sides. All up, the platter weighed roughly 5.5 pounds, and Moran had just 20 minutes to stuff it all down. Moran's first plan of attack was the burrito, which was so wet it basically disintegrated into a pile of mush in his hands. As he attempted to plow through, he commented on the fact that the platter turned out to be much larger than what it looked like in pictures. He managed to crush the burrito, but the sides took him down.
That, I guess, I just had a bad day at the office. I suppose it happens in all careers.
The Breakfast Club's 50-item fry-up challenge was the next to take Moran down. Scarfing down 50 items in 30 minutes may sound like an impossible task to most, but not Adam Moran. He eagerly sat down to a feast fit for a small army and dug in. The eggs were the first to go, followed by the sausages, Spam, and bacon. At about 13 minutes in, he knew he was in trouble. He tried to consolidate most of the food onto one plate to give himself a psychological boost, but couldn't get past just how much food was left. With 3 minutes left on the clock and a full bowl of potatoes to tackle, he had to give up. Just a month later, Moran got schooled yet again with Fletcher's Olympic Calzone Challenge in Liverpool. It was a rainy day when Moran pulled up to Fletcher's sports bar at the Allerton Manor Golf Course. The gloomy weather was a precursor of what was to come. The challenge was to eat an enormous calzone with onion rings and barbecue chicken fries in just 30 minutes. Moran said it was a calamity from the get-go. The calzone was piping hot, so Moran had to begin with the crust. That done, he moved on to the pepperoni and cheese, which is what did him in. With around 5 minutes to go, he threw in the towel.
The pepperoni's just destroyed me. I can't stand the taste of it anymore. I'll take the loss.
It's not too often that you see Adam Moran lose his temper, but the Hard Rock Hotel's kitchen sink challenge got his hackles up. First, the timer started rolling as soon as the food hit the table, so Moran had to waste precious time getting shots of the food. More importantly, though, the portions were far bigger than what was advertised. Moran spent the first 6 minutes of the challenge arguing with the staff about the colander of chips that should have been a single serving of fries, before finally sitting down to eat.
What a bunch of con men.
Moran scarfed down the burger, fries, and deep-fried pickle in good time. He moved on to the cake and 8 scoops of ice cream, which should have been just 1. But the dwindling time and larger-than-advertised portions brought him down. He wasn't impressed, calling the challenge
A swindle of the most egregious order.
Connor's Lozza Sandwich Challenge featured a giant breakfast sandwich stuffed with meat, beans, mushrooms, and eggs, plus sides of toast and fries. If he won, Moran would receive a free t-shirt and tub of Ben & Jerry's ice cream. If he lost, he had to pay full price and make a donation to charity. Moran used every tool in his arsenal: knife, fork, hands, and the obligatory bottle of water. As the challenge progressed, he began to sweat. It got worse about 20 minutes in.
I think I might be going straight to the morgue after this.
Moran was surprised at the unexpected addition of extra fries and toast. As a result, despite having a full hour to complete the challenge, he tapped out after just 25 minutes. When Moran rocked up to the Old South's 10-pound pancake challenge in 2022, it had only been beaten 3 times in 14 years. So he knew he was in for a tough one. Nobody in their right mind should shovel 10 pounds of pancakes into their body in 1 hour, something Moran learned to his dismay. He slathered the pancakes in butter and syrup and made quick work of the first few in the stack. But after just 5 minutes, he was already struggling. And it was downhill from there.
You could insulate houses with these pancakes.
With more than a half hour left on the clock, Moran threw in the towel. Usually it's the sheer volume of food that beats Moran, or occasionally an absurdly short time frame. But not with the 4 million Scoville Spicy Noodle Challenge. The now shuttered Shuku Ramen in Nashville offered up a gigantic bowl of ramen so spicy that Moran had to sign a liability waiver before he even began. The dish looked tasty enough, but it was that broth that was the silent killer. The dish made Moran cough after just a few bites.
I'm sure that chicken, the eggs, the pork all taste great when they're not swimming in what feels like pure sulfuric acid.
When the clock ran out at 8 minutes, Moran had been painfully beaten. At the beginning of 2024, Moran teamed up with personal trainer James Smith to take on the Undefeated Tap House Burger Challenge. The pair were presented with 2 towering burgers stacked high with toppings. The duo had 30 minutes to eat the burgers, as well as bowls of coleslaw and fries. Right off the bat, Moran gave Smith some tips, advising him to eat the heaviest items like meat first. Despite following Moran's advice, Smith still struggled.
Every which road I look down now is just pure sadness.
With about 7 minutes left, Smith was pretty much done. Moran managed to pack away most of the burger, but the coleslaw and fries were what did him in. The duo conceded defeat, but both ordered dessert. Moran said that the full English breakfast challenge at Anne's Kitchen he attempted in June 2024 was one of the toughest challenges he'd done in years. The giant fry-up featured classic British breakfast dishes like bacon, eggs, black pudding, fried bread, potatoes, and tomatoes. What was not so classic about the breakfast was that the dishes came in portions of 8. Moran had 30 minutes to get it done. The breakfast came out on what looked like a turkey platter, accompanied by a plate piled high with toast and 2 pots of beans. As onlookers watched on, Moran got to work at a fast clip. At 5 minutes in, he seemed hopeful.
It looks like I'm doing alright here, but the biggest problem really is the mountain of potatoes underneath all of this and what is basically a whole loaf of bread.
Moran ate to the very end, but once again, the time limit was just too tight.
I think I might have to retire.